All right. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Thursday to everybody out there who's joining me this morning. It's good to see the chat full of familiar faces and some new faces. So if you're new here, thanks for joining me this morning. Make sure you're subscribed and make sure that the notification bell is rung. And the reason you want to do that is because I go live every morning at 11 a.m. Eastern time and we talk NBA player props. That's the focus here lately. So we'll be digging into points, rebounds, assists. We'll look at some fantasy scores, some three-point makes, and some free throw makes over on PrizePicks. If you don't play on PrizePicks yet, it's a great time to do so because with promo code Curry, you see it above my head here, you're going to get a 100% instant deposit match on your first deposit all the way up to $100. So if you just want to dip your toe in the water, drop a little $20 bill in there, they're going to double that up. You're going to have $40 to play with, and your first entry on PrizePicks is going to be completely risk-free. Now, if you want to max out this offer and take full advantage of it, drop a full $100 bill. That's right, a Benjamin Franklin for you kids out there. Some of you kids ain't never seen no real money in your life. You're just used to these little plastic cards and these little contactless payments through your Apple iPhone or your Android. Look, Benjamin Franklin, he's on the $100 bill. If you want to drop $100 then on PrizePicks, they're going to double that up for you as well, giving you 200 smackaroos to get you started on your PrizePicks journey. And then you come and visit my channel, and then I help you win some money, some more money. We'll double that money up. We'll make your money multiply. How about that? All right, gang. Good to see everybody up in here. Jimmy, good morning to you. Jonathan, what's happening? JY, last night stung a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. But we're going to get it back. We're ready to rebound for sure. Mac B, good to see you as well. He says, run them likes up. I agree with that sentiment. That is a good message to pump out into the chat. Run those likes up, folks. We got to keep the likes going. We got to keep the positive energy up. I know last night was a little rough, a little rocky for some of us. I think my Patreon picks, the ones that I wrote up, the ones that kind of looked interesting to me, never a lock. Remember, I'll never call any of the picks that I put up a lock. Nothing's ever a lock, right? I'm trying to teach you guys that. Nothing's ever a lock. But we went, two hits and 3 misses. Guys like Bobby Portis, he got in foul trouble, couldn't hit his rebound prop. SGA had 15 shot attempts, made only 5 of them. He shot terribly. All the opportunities in the world were there against the Minnesota Timberwolves. He couldn't get it done. And who was the other stinker? Oh, Clint Capella. Yeah. I think he was kind of hurt by Trae Young being ruled out later in the night, which just goes to show you it's kind of better if you can wait for all the news to roll out. It's probably to your benefit with all the COVID stuff going around. So yeah, had some misses, but the things that hit ended up being Jakob Poeltl over 8 rebounds against the Boston Celtics. He crushed his rebound prop. I think he ended up with like 12 boards. So that ended up being a good pick. The other one that ended up working out for us was, Omer Yurtseven. Ended up crushing his rebound prop against Yusuf Nurkic and the Portland Trailblazers. So yes, shout out to you, Omer Yurtseven. You're still crushing the board. So yeah, we had a couple of wins. We had some losses. And then, me, I threw in a late night rage pick, a 5 pick actually, and it ended up hitting. So I hope some people in the Patreon/Discord community ended up seeing that 5 pick. It was definitely a Hail Mary. It was definitely a last minute thing. Wasn't intending to do it, but I did. It ended up working out. Sometimes stuff like that ends up saving your night. And that was the case for me. Todd, good to see you up in here this morning. Good morning to you. Time to do this again tonight with a little bit of help. Absolutely. Short slate. You're right, Denzel. It's just a 4-game NBA slate after 11 games yesterday. So we'll have to see what's good with today's NBA slate. Tony, good morning to you. Was a good night yesterday. Capella and the locks. Van Vliet, Kuzma came through. Yeah, it was all right. It was all right. Tony also says, hit the likes. He knows what the deal is. Jay Stino, yo, wake and bake. All right, I see how you're getting down. Ronald's Green, good morning to you. Glad to have you. Zaddy, back up in the building. Haven't seen you in a minute, Zaddy, but it's good for you to be able to join us today. King Chris, what's happening? Last 3 days have been real rough for your account. Yeah, all right. Everyday Fantasy says, good day, CJ. Need some help linking my Patreon. Smash the like, y'all. Okay. We will definitely get you the help. Make sure you DM me in Discord after the show, Everyday Fantasy, and I will do my best to help you out. Good to see New Oasis. Chris B's up in here. Missed a 5 for 5 by 1 pick, so it ended up being a double up. That's not terrible. Nick is back in the building. Good to see you as well, Nick. Jeff, good morning to you. Delvin, good morning. I did all right last night, he says. Ready to get back at it today. Absolutely. Asin, we back. Yes. Trill Fate, you also hit a 10X. I hit a 10X too. Hashtag 10X gang. Love to see that. Cam, what's happening to you? Wow. Cito MB says Curry sold me. I think Curry sold him. Sheesh. JMN, what up? Last night was a little tough, but looking for a comeback. Yeah, we're not going to win every night, guys. It's just not going to be that way. It's not going to be a winning night every night. There's going to be some ups and downs in this game, but we can't let the down nights keep us down. We got to get up off the mat when we get knocked down. If you got knocked down last night, then we will definitely be on the bounce back, the rebound. We'll get back up tonight. Chris Money, good to see you. Will Charles, hot streak came to an end last night. Well, that's all right. Now we begin a new streak, right? Now we get things restarted, recalibrated, reconfigured, and we start a new streak. Dan, good to see you. Let's do this. Martin, it's the man with the plan. I hope I've got a plan today, Martin. I hope I do. Cash, he says that his last name is pronounced Chowdhury. Okay, so it's not Chode Harry, because Chode Harry is just not, it's not appropriate. It's not appropriate. Good to know that it is not pronounced the way that I thought it was pronounced. RB Powell, love to see you in here. Emmanuel, welcome back. Diddy the Dilf. This dude's a Dilf. Oh, we got a Dilf up in the chat, folks. If you don't know what Dilf is, well, I'll let Diddy answer that. George, good morning to you. Good morning to you. Jay says, PrizePicks get sneaky with these small slates. Let's be smart, y'all. Let's be smart. All right. All right. City says, shout out to you, bro. I got to make my money back. Yeah, we'll get it right. Poodle came through. That's right. Poodle came through. Jakob Poodle. Pirtle. Peedle. However you say his name. All right, y'all. Got all my shout outs in. Royster Cam, sorry if I missed you. What's up? Arrington Lee says, what's up? Deadpool maximum effort. Loving the energy. Leroy, yo, yo, yo. What's happening, man? All right, let me go ahead. I am unprepared here today, apparently. Let's go ahead and pull up our little game breakdown here on Number Fire. I love this page. I haven't found anything that's quite as good as this in terms of just like being able to go down game by game, do a full breakdown, full run through of everything. So let's go ahead and get down to business on this 4-game NBA slate. Starting things off with a matchup of two of the legendary teams, the most legendary teams in the NBA. We've got the Boston Celtics at the New York Knicks. This game has a 210-point implied total, just a 1-point spread, meaning this game should stay close. It should stay competitive. Now, we're starting to see less and less red on these injury reports and more yellow, which is a good sign. Hopefully that means more and more of the regular names and faces that are in these lineups are making their return. They're getting healthy. They're getting out of the COVID protocols, and they're getting their butts back out on the basketball court where we want to see them. So we should get the new normal rotation, normal roster here for the Boston Celtics. Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Robert Williams. That's been their typical starting 5. Looking at the injury report, Fernando, Hauser, Miles, Thomas, Freedom, all game time decisions. Peyton Pritchard has already been ruled out. Looking at the Knicks side of things, they're still not really back to normal, but they've been doing some funky stuff with their rotations anyway. So right now it's projected that Alec Burks, Evan Fournier, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Taj Gibson will be the starting 5. Kevin Knox, Nerlens Noel, both game time decisions. D Rose and Kemba Walker both ruled out. So both of the veteran point guards are out for the New York Knicks tonight. Looking at this 8 p.m. game here, Detroit Pistons at the Memphis Grizzlies. Listen, I know you folks out there, a lot of you were probably burned bad by the Detroit Pistons last night. I don't know what happened. They did not come to play. We were all over some Saddiq Bey points, some Saddiq Bey rebounds, some Saddiq Bey assists. I don't know if he hit any of those. I know that Cade Cunningham hit his 3-point prop, which was one that we discussed. Remember that movie, There Will Be Blood? And I said that there will be threes made, and it ended up being the case. Cade Cunningham and Saddiq Bey, I think, both knocked down a few 3-pointers. So that might have been one of the only bright spots from that Detroit Pistons team. Anyways, 219.5 points, decent total, but guys, the spread 12.5 in favor of the Memphis Grizzlies. This has blowout potential, blowout risk written all over it. We saw Detroit get blowed out last night by a worse team than the Memphis Grizzlies. So you might want to stick to playing first half only entries from this particular game if you're looking to take any overs. Otherwise, maybe you take a full game, like a superstar, let's say like Ja Morant. I don't know what his points are. We're going to get into it, but say his points line's really high or his fantasy points are really, really high and you think the game's going to blow out. Maybe you take the under in a full game format on some of these guys with really lofty player props or really lofty fantasy point projections. So go under on those guys, or go over Go over on those guys in a first half format. Go under on those guys in a full game format if you think it's a blowout situation. That could be a strategy worth using. Anyways, we got livers or livers, I don't know how you say it. Joseph Stewart, all game time decisions. Beef Stew would probably be the most impactful one here. If Isaiah Stewart gets back in the lineup for the Detroit Pistons, that could be a good thing for them, a big get for them. Jeremy Grant continues to sit out. Jackson and Olynyk are also out. Looking at the Memphis side of things, Desmond Bane is a game time decision. That would be a big one. Melton, also a GTD. Kyle Anderson on the game time decision list. And Pons de Riva, Pons de Bank is a game time decision. Konkar, Tillman, and Brooks are already ruled out. So no Dylan Brooks. That's a pretty big one there. 8 p.m. Golden State at New Orleans. Listen, I think I've heard that Steph Curry is planning on sitting out. That he is not optimistic, not hopeful that he will be available to play tonight. And, I don't know that they really need him. I don't know that they need him going up against New Orleans. This game has a 217-point total, 3-point spread at the moment. But if Steph Curry's out, obviously that would shake things up. That would change things a lot in terms of the totals and the spreads and all that fun stuff. So Curry, game time decision. Iguodala, game time decision. Damian Lee, game time decision. Thompson and Wiseman already ruled out. They've been out for Golden State. Nothing new there. Over on the other side, Marshall and Alvarado, both game time decisions. No Lewis Jr., no Zion Williamson, of course, no Alexander Walker, and no Satoransky for New Orleans. So they're going to have pretty much almost their normal rotation, the one that they've been rolling out for most of the season. Which brings us to the late night hammer, the last game of the day, the Los Angeles Clippers at the Phoenix Suns, 220 implied point total, 11.5 point spread. So again, we got to take this one and we got to throw it in the blowout bucket because it looks like this one's leading or heading toward a blowout. Looking at the injury news on both sides of this game, Wright, Boston Jr., and Batum, all game time decisions. No Preston, no Leonard, no George, no Hartenstein, no Kennard, no Zubac for the Clippers. So they're going to be rolling out Ibaka, Morris, Mann, Bledsoe, and Jackson once again. Looking at the Phoenix side, Shamet, Ayton, McGee, Nader, Crowder, Saric, and Kaminsky all out. I think DeAndre Ayton's starting to inch his way back closer and closer to re-entering the lineup here for the Phoenix Suns, as is Jay Crowder. So the Suns are going to be rolling out Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, and Jalen Smith. So that's what's happening. Pondi River, Pondi Bank, dem dog, Pondi River. You know what it is, man. You know what it is. So that's your NBA slate in a nutshell. 4 games. Lots of injury news still to stay on top of. The biggest ones, Steph Curry, obviously. We talked about him. Trying to figure out what's going on with the Curry Meister. We got Isaiah Stewart floating around out there. Desmond Bane's a big one to keep an eye out on. I think those are pretty much your most impactful, biggest pieces of injury news. So let's go ahead and close this up. Close that up, and then we're going to go over to Action Labs, and we're going to take a look at some of these point props and see what's happening here. Good morning to everybody who's just now joining. If I haven't said hello to you yet, hello. B-Fam, I don't play anywhere but PrizePicks. I bleed PrizePicks, brother. Black, gold, purple. That's what I bleed. You cut me open, that's what's coming out of me. Siakam assist slap last night. All right, we're going to have to take a look at that. Michael, good morning to you. Good to see all you fine folks. All you familiar faces, all you new faces. Love adding new faces to the family. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these points props. We got a very limited board at the moment on the PrizePicks slate, but you know how it works. Typically, more props will start to come in, but I know PrizePicks is waiting on some of this injury news to drop. They're trying to see just like we're trying to see if these players are going to be in or out tonight. But we will make do with what we have. Let's start things off here by looking at some points props. First guy we're going to take a look at is Marcus Morris of the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, Morris had been balling. 4 straight games he had covered 17.5 points. Comes up short against Minnesota in his last game with just 12 points. Averaging 20.6 points per game over his last 5 games. If we look at the last 10 games, he's also rocking a 70% hit rate. So 70% in the last 10, 80% in the last 5. You know me, I like going back to a prop after a flop. And this indeed was a flop by Marcus Morris with just 12 points against Minnesota. So maybe he returns back to the 20-point or more threshold in this bounce back spot against the Phoenix Suns. We talked about this game most likely being a blowout situation. Very good chance, very high probability that the Phoenix Suns beat the Los Angeles Clippers. Do the Clippers have enough firepower to hang around and make this thing competitive into the fourth quarter? That's what we really have to kind of ask ourselves. Now, Morris, he's going to be, we'll call him a power forward in this situation. So we're going to go find the Phoenix Suns. We're going to see how many points they allowed to opposing power forwards in the last 7 games. And it's not looking good. They're giving up the 3rd fewest. So this matchup looking like a difficult one here for Marcus Morris. Maybe you consider him to be a small forward. So just for, what do the kids say? Shits and giggles. I used a bad word. We'll take a look at how the small forwards match up against Phoenix. And again, guys, they're putting the clamps on both forward positions, which does not bode well for Marcus Morris to come back from a 12-point outing against Minnesota. Giving up the 4th fewest to small forwards, the 3rd fewest points in the last 7 games to power forwards. So the matchup, not ideal here for Marcus Morris. Nonetheless, we power forward here. Power forward. Oh, I see what I did there. We move forward. Marcus Morris, 15.9 projected points. Even if we call it 16, that would not be enough to get over 17.5, according to the action projection tool. So if you look across all the different books right now, we're seeing a little bit of money on 1 or 2 sites on the over at 17.5. So they're not buying these projections. They're saying that Marcus Morris is going to snap back and get back to his 20-point or more ways. Or maybe he just ends up with 18 and he makes you sweat it out all game and hits the over late in the game. But yeah, you can see Morris has been on a roll in his last 10 games and his last 5 games. 70% in the last 10, 80% in the last 5. So he could be an option, despite what appears to be a difficult matchup on paper. That could be one way to look. Another way to look here would be Devontae Graham of the New Orleans Pelicans. Now for me, it's been difficult this season to kind of figure out who's going to be the guard that eats between Devontae Graham and his backcourt mate, Josh Hart. It's been hard to figure out. Not going to lie, it's difficult. One game, one guy goes off. Another game, the other guy goes off. You know, it's like one of them crazy situations. Now, Josh Hart has been hitting his points prop at a much higher clip than Devontae Graham. Over the last 10 games, Josh Hart at 12.5 points has an 80% hit rate. We're not seeing him up on the PrizePicks board, though, so we're going to have to settle for Devontae Graham. Now, Devontae Graham at 14.5 points does have a 60% hit rate in his last 10 games, which isn't terrible. He also maintains that 60% hit rate over the last 5 games, averaging 17.2 points per game. But this 17.2 is a little deceiving, a little misleading, because a lot of it's being bolstered by this 28-point performance against the Phoenix Suns. You take that out of there and those averages really plummet. All right, so let's take a look at this matchup for Devontae Graham going up against the Phoenix Suns. The Golden State Warriors. He's not facing Phoenix. He's facing Golden State. He faced Phoenix in the last game when he had 28 points. So Golden State is his opponent tonight. We're not sure if Steph Curry's going to play or not. And I don't even know, even if he does play, how much that really impacts Devontae Graham or Josh Hart. But anyway, I digress. Looking at the Golden State Warriors here in terms of points allowed to the point guard position, they're giving up just over 24 points per game. That's kind of a middle of the pack, average, middle of the road type of matchup here for Devontae Graham. Now, if you consider Hart the point guard, maybe Graham's more the shooting guard in your mind. He does shoot probably more threes, takes and makes more threes than Hart. So maybe we call him the shooting guard. We go down here and we find Golden State. They're giving up the 20th most points to opposing shooting guards, which puts them down here toward the bottom of the list. So kind of a tough matchup. So overall, point guard, shooting guard, whatever you consider Devontae Graham to be, it's not an easy, but not a difficult matchup. I'd say it's kind of just an average matchup for him. Anyway, I got him projected for 16.5 points. 16.5 points. So he's popping here on the Action Lab projection tool in terms of his points prop. Now, where things are weird is we've got him at 13.5 on some sites. At 13.5, people are taking the over, minus 135 to go over 13.5. But he's at 14.5 on PrizePicks. He's on 14.5 on 3 other major sports books as well. And at 14.5 points, we see him as a betting favorite on all 3 of those sites to go under 14.5. So he's got favorable projections here of 16.5 points, 3 books betting the under at 14.5, 1 book, people are betting the over at 13.5. So a lot of craziness here with this point prop. Tread lightly, but I don't hate the matchup here for Devontae Graham. It's just more a matter of who's it going to be. Is it going to be a Devontae Graham night or a Josh Hart night? You just never know. You just never know. So there's a couple of guys there for you to consider. Another guy that's been hitting at a pretty decent rate is RJ Barrett. Now, I hate the New York Knicks. It's nothing personal. I just hate him from a daily fantasy sports betting, player prop point of view. Okay, it's nothing personal between me as the Orlando Magic fan and the New York Knicks. No problem. I got no issues with the New York Knicks. All right. I do have an issue with RJ Barrett, Evan Fournier, Julius Randle. These guys, they're very volatile. They're very hard to figure out. Some games they show up and they look like monsters. Other games, they look like mice. So let's go ahead and take a look at RJ Barrett. I talked about his last 10 games, 60% hit rate at 18.5 points. Looking at the last 5 games, 60% hit rate at 18.5 points. I will give him some credit, though. His last 3 games have been pretty darn good, 26, 19, and 32 points, respectively. He's going up against the Boston Celtics tonight. So what do we think about that matchup? Well, let's go take a look. RJ Barrett, kind of the shooting guard, right, for the New York Knicks. Alec Burks, slated to be the starting point guard. And then, of course, Fournier is in the mix, too. So they really have like 3 wing players filling in that point guard, shooting guard, and small forward position for the New York Knicks. So going down here, looking at this matchup against Boston, shooting guards getting about 22.4 points per game against the Boston Celtics. Now, the Boston Celtics are back to full strength, meaning Smart, Brown, Tatum. These are the types of matchups that RJ Barrett and company will be facing in the backcourt. Maybe you consider RJ Barrett to be sort of like a pseudo point guard. He does have high usage. He is one of the primary ball handlers. So let's go take a look and see how Boston does against opposing point guards. They're very good. They're very good. They're giving up 18 points per game, which is the 3rd fewest to the point guard position over the last 7 games. So they've been very difficult at the point guard position. Hard to score on them if you're a point guard. All right, and finally, let's just take a look at the small forward position and see how Boston fares there. Well, we got to go all the way down here. They're giving up just 18 points per game. That's the 6th fewest. So the easiest matchup here would be for the shooting guard. So if you're a point guard, if you're a small forward, probably want to fade. But if you're a shooting guard, there's a chance that RJ Barrett, if he's the shooting guard of the Knicks, has a chance to go over 18.5 points. So let's go ahead and pull up a projection for RJ Barrett. I got him projected at 18, which isn't a terrible projection. If he was down at like 16 points, I'd say we got some cause for concern here, because right now I'm leaning toward the over, I think, on RJ Barrett. At 18.5 points on every sports book out there, well, at least 3 out of 4, people are slightly favoring the over here. So this could be a good spot. Could be a good spot for RJ Barrett against the Boston Celtics. Shooting guards, again, definitely have the advantage. So I don't know if that benefits RJ Barrett. I don't know if that benefits Evan Fournier. I don't know if that benefits Alec Burks. This is another one of those teams similar to the Pelicans where it's like, who's the true shooting guard on the Knicks? I don't know. It's hard to figure out. DC, that's kind of my point. They're like all interchangeable. I mean, Alec Burks, you could call him a small forward. You could call RJ Barrett a small forward. You could call Evan Fournier a small forward. I mean, or a shooting guard. They're all 3 like, I don't know. It's weird. Look at Will dropping the fact bombs up in here. In 7 career games versus the Celtics, RJ Barrett has only scored under 19 twice. Royster, you believe that Evan Fournier is going off tonight? Evan Fournier, I think in his last game, laid an absolute turd. I think he had like 0 points through like, I don't know, 2 or 3 quarters. Did Evan Fournier ever end up scoring a basket in his last game? He didn't do well. That's my point. That's my point. PrizePicks University says super flop by Morris. You talking about in his last game, or do you think he's going to flop tonight? What do you think? I don't know. Morris could be in a bounce back spot, but the matchup did not look good for him. All right, let's see who else is standing out here. Maybe we go Jonas Valanciunas at 17.5 points. His last couple of games, 25 and 25, going up against Utah and Phoenix, respectively. Two very good teams in their own right. He gets the Golden State Warriors tonight, so Kevon Looney and Draymond Green. So not sure what to expect from this one, but if Steph Curry's out, maybe this game ends up staying a little bit closer, and Jonas Valanciunas gets more run. He is scoring about 19.8, almost 20 points per game over the course of the last 5 games. 60% hit rate. 3 games of 24 or more points as well. So we know Joe Val can play. He's a baller. He's a baller. Now with Brandon Ingram back in the lineup these last couple of games here, 25 and 25, that's actually kind of good. Like I would expect maybe less for Jonas Valanciunas with Ingram back, but I don't think Ingram's 100% yet. He hasn't been putting up the Ingram-like numbers lately. So let's look at Jonas Valanciunas here against the Golden State Warriors. We could go find the Warriors and see how many points per game they're giving up to opposing bigs over the last 7 games. And it's ugly. It's 18.2 points, meaning if we take that average and apply it to Joe Val's going to have to get all 18 points to go over this 17.5 number. So, you may think of Kevon Looney as a bum. You may think of Draymond Green as, an undersized center, but they're holding opposing centers in check here when it comes to the points column. All right, so let's go pull a projection up for Valanciunas. Not the easiest matchup, but the projections on Action Labs don't seem to give a crap. They got him at 19.7 projected points. Now we got him on various books with various action, meaning we're seeing a lot of mixed signals here. We're seeing him under 17.5 on one book. We're seeing him over 17.5 on another book. He's under again on another book. And then one other book, he's even. No action over or under. So, seems like the betting public is pretty torn here with Jonas Valanciunas. But the facts are the facts. The last 7 games, the Golden State Warriors have kept opposing bigs in check in the points column. So the matchup doesn't look like an easy one on paper. But we don't play the game on paper. We play it in person. So maybe Joe Val ends up showing up tonight. Projections, once again, 19.7. They got him over 2 points higher than where he's at the 17.5 number. But it's pretty ugly overall tonight, guys. As far as looking at last 10 hit rates, there's not a whole lot of names that are really standing out. Guys that are covering their points prop in that 10-game span. So, such is life. It's looking like one of those tough nights, at least from a points category, right? So let's go ahead and look at rebounds. Maybe we'll find some value there. PrizePicks actively and aggressively trading props. They're on their game, y'all. We got to get locked in as quickly as possible. If there's something you really, really like on the PrizePicks board, it seems like the earlier, the better. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and look at some rebound props. I knew a lot of you were on Chris Paul back 2 nights ago on his rebound prop, and for good reason. You can kind of see here, Chris Paul, despite being a little guy, a point guard, has been rebounding pretty well at the point guard position. At 4.5 boards, he's covered in 5 straight games, 100% hit rate. He's facing his former team, the Los Angeles Clippers. Yes, once upon a time, he was a member of the Clippers, him, Doc Rivers. They had the likes of Jamal Crawford, J.J. Redick, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. What a time to be alive if you're a Clippers fan. Unfortunately, that group of guys, they couldn't win anything. And poor Chris Paul got shipped out. And Doc Rivers, he got shipped out. And Blake Griffin, he eventually got shipped out. And DeAndre Jordan, he got shipped out. They broke the whole thing up. J.J. Redick's gone. Hell, J.J. Redick's running a podcast now. He's not even a basketball player anymore. Crazy. Anyway, I just wanted to reminisce a little bit. That Clippers team was really good, and it seems like they should have won something, right? Chris Paul, last 10 games, 80% hit rate on this 4.5 rebound prop. Last 5 games, a 100% hit rate on this 4.5 rebound prop. So Chris Paul's been getting it done. been getting it done. We're going to go to the point guard position. We're going to look at rebounds here. And we're going to go find the Clippers. Listen, we don't have to go down very far. They're giving up 6.8 boards per game to opposing point guards over the last 7 games. So I would say that this matchup is looking good for Chris Paul to keep the trend going, keep the hotness going with covering this 4.5 rebound prop. 6.8 boards, there's a little bit of upside here for Chris Paul, little wiggle room, upward vertical mobility here for Chris Paul at just 4.5 boards. Let's go pull a projection up for the point guard, CP3, and see what they're thinking. Well, he's projected for 4.2, so it's not 5.2. You know, it's not sexy when there's a projection that's slightly lower than the line. But, you know, in this case, we can kind of forgive the action projection tool at 4.2 rebounds. It's close enough for 4.5 or maybe even 5. Listen, it's more than 4, right? It's more than 4. We got to give him that. 3 different books right now, -140, -135, and -135. Betting favorite to cover 4.5 boards once again. So, betting public, they're loving this prop. I like the matchup as well. I think this makes for a solid play. You could definitely cross-reference this projection on his rebounds with a few other sites out there. Kind of get a better idea, better picture of how many rebounds Chris Paul's projected for using some other tools. But the projection tools on Action Labs has him at 4.2, which is, again, slightly more than 4, but not as close to 5 as we would like, which is the magic number if we want to take the over. All right. Other rebounders to possibly consider. You got his backcourt mate here, Devin Booker, at 5 rebounds right now. 5 rebounds. Devin Booker at 5.5 boards in the last 10 games, a 70% hit rate. Getting the job done. Not getting it done quite as good as Chris Paul, but still, with DeAndre Ayton out, these guards have been rebounding a lot better lately. Chris Paul and Devin Booker included. So at 5 rebounds, 4 straight games of going for more than 5 rebounds, 7, 6, 7, and 9 boards respectively, averaging 6.2. The last time he went under was back on December 27th, so it's been a while. All right, Devin Booker looking pretty good here so far in terms of hit rates in the last 10 games and 5 games. But we don't just stop there. We don't just rest on the hit rates and throw our money in there. We got to dig in a little bit deeper. So let's go see how the Clippers have done against opposing shooting guards in the rebound column. Well, we got to go all the way down here, all the way down. They're giving up the 3rd fewest rebounds per game to opposing shooting guards at just 4.9. Nearly 5, which would put them pretty close here to where Devin Booker's line is. But that would also insinuate that Devin Booker's going to get all of the rebounds that are allowed on average by the Los Angeles Clippers in the last 7 games. Not impossible, but you know, there are other shooting guards on the Suns, and I expect some of them to get some of the rebounds too. So I'm just saying there's not a lot of difference here between this 5 rebound prop and the rebounds allowed by the Clippers to the shooting guard position. So one of you guys made a point here that the NBA is positionless. It is, but I think we can agree that Chris Paul is a true point guard. Devin Booker is a true shooting guard in this case. But there are some teams that throw out like 3 guards in their lineup. But that's not the case here with the Suns. We know D-Book, he's definitely the shooting guard on the team, right? So it's pretty clear. Let's go ahead and pull up a projection for Booker. I got him projected for 5.3. 5.3. Now, the reason that he is at 5 right now, as PrizePicks loads some more props up for us, thank you, PrizePicks. The reason he is at 5 right now is because out on every book at 5.5, he's a betting favorite to go under at -135 odds. And probably has to do with this matchup against the Clippers, too, being a difficult one for shooting guards. So proceed at your own risk if you do want to take the over on Devin Booker. Listen, last 4 games have been good. He has been getting on the boards. So you're going to have to kind of like make a stand here. Are you going with the hit rates? Or are you going with the projections, which the hit rates and projections, they both like him to go for at least 5 rebounds tonight or more? Or do you go with the betting public who are taking the under at 5.5 boards? And do you consider the matchup against the Clippers? Tough one. Tough prop. That's a tough one. I think I like Chris Paul's rebounds a little bit more. Feel a little bit more confident about that one. Again, we're not getting any Josh Hart props for whatever reason, but at 7.5 boards, Josh Hart in the last 10 games, 70% hit rate for Mr. Hart, getting the job done. Herbert Jones, How many of you are scared to click the over on Herbert Jones at 4.5 rebounds tonight? How many of you are burned still scorched by Herbert Jones and his 4.5 rebounds from the last time he played, which was against Phoenix? I know there's some of you out there. I didn't take the prop personally, but I saw some people who did, and they're not happy with you, Herbert Jones. Are you going to pay the people back tonight, just like Dorian Finney-Smith paid the people back last night? Dorian Finney-Smith crushed his rebound prop of 4.5. We talked about it briefly here at the start of yesterday's show. DFS came through on those rebounds. Will Herbert Jones do the same for all you folks who took the over on Herbert Jones last time he was out on the floor? Herbert Jones at 4.5 boards, folks. 60% hit rate in his last 10 games, 80% in the last 5. He owes some people some money. Will he pay out? That is the question. He's the power forward, we'll say, for the New Orleans Pelicans, with Brandon Ingram playing more of that small forward role. Yes, these guys are probably kind of interchangeable, so we'll look at both positions. But they're taking on Golden State tonight. We talked about this matchup already. Go down here. You see that they're giving up about 9.7 rebounds per game to opposing power forwards. So they rank pretty low, but at 9.7 rebounds, there's some upside for Herbert Jones, who needs just 5 boards to cover this prop. And he's coming off of a flop, guys. So maybe he bounces back to the 5, the 6, the 7, the 6 rebound number. He's averaging 5.6 in his last 5. Let's just take a look, see how many boards Golden State's given up to opposing small forwards. Go down a ways here. They're giving up the first fewest at 6.3. But even at 6.3, this guy only needs 5. And he's more of the power forward anyway, with Ingram playing the small forward spot. So I'm not too worried about the matchup, not too scared about this one. Let's go ahead and pull up Herbert Jones and his projected rebounds. I got him projected for 4.6. That's more than 4.5 by just a little bit. But at 4.5 boards, he is a minus 125 betting favorite to go under. So the question remains, will Herbert Jones bounce back? Will he pay his debts, his dues to everyone who took the over last game and he didn't pull through? I know some of you are going to be shy. You're going to be gun shy. You're not going to take Herbert Jones tonight. And you know what's going to happen, right? He's going to come out there and get at least 5 rebounds. And you're going to be like, dang, that bounce back spot could have been the one. Anyway, let's see who else is out here. We've seen a little bit of love here for Julius Randle. Julius Randle's been getting it done. He's been on the glass here lately. He's at 9.5 rebounds. And in the last 10 games, a 60% hit rate for Julius Randle. So a lot more active on the glass. 12, 15, 10, and 16 in 4 straight games. Crushing it. Came up just a little short with just 9 against Washington. That should have been a game where he hit, to be honest with you. I don't know what happened. I don't know why he didn't hit against Washington, but if you're going to hit your rebound prop against anyone, it should be the Wizards. So he's taking on Boston tonight, going against the front court of Robert the Time Lord Williams and Al Horford. And Jason Tatum. He's a good rebounder in his own right. So let's go take a look at this matchup here for Julius Randle facing off against Boston. Now, Randle spends most of his time at the power forward position. Boston giving up 13.7 rebounds per game to the power forward spot. That's the second most. The second most in the NBA. Very good matchup for Randle if he spends most of his time at the power forward spot. Now, sometimes he slots in at the center position. But listen, doesn't get much worse or worse at all. Maybe it gets better for him when he's at the center spot. Boston giving up 18.2 rebounds per game, which is the 4th most to opposing centers. So it doesn't matter if he spends time at the center spot or the power forward spot. It's looking like a good matchup here for Julius Randle, who is on a 4-game hit streak. 12, 15, 10, and 16 respectively. So let's go pull up a projection for Julius Randle. Projected for 9.9, really close to 10, almost at 10. We'll call it 10. We could round that up to 10 easily. Now he's at 9.5 on a couple of different books. People are smacking the under on this prop at minus 130. So they're going to go against the 4-game hit rate. They're going to go against the projections of 9.9. They're going to go against this top 5 matchup in the rebound category for both power forwards and centers. They're going to go against all this good stuff here for Julius Randle. Why is the betting public doing that? Can somebody answer that question for me? Why is Julius Randle being bet on for the under at 9.5 boards? Is like historically, is he bad against Boston? I mean, the matchup looks sweet. The matchup looks good against Boston. If you guys have any information on why the betting public might be trying to take the under on Julius Randle tonight, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave them in the chat. I don't know. For me, it's looking like an over. It's looking like an over. Boston's giving up a ton of boards. We saw what old big man Jakob Poeltl did to him last night. Boston's also on a second half of a back-to-back. So, have no idea. Escobar Cruz says, Randle will fail you guys. Watch. Ooh. Denzel says, primetime Randle's different. You think he turns up for the cameras? Is that what you're saying? When all the cameras and the lights are on him, he comes to play? He's on TNT? Okay, maybe there's a little bit of primetime Randle narrative there. Interesting. All right. What other rebound props are standing out? Well, I don't know. Maybe we could look Brandon Ingram's way at 5.5 boards. We kind of talked about how Golden State matches up against the small forward and power forward spot. More difficult against small forwards like Brandon Ingram than they are against power forwards like Herbert Jones. For me, I'd probably have to go back to Herbert Jones. I know he burned some folks last game like we talked about, but I'm going back to it, guys. That's the best time to take the prop. It's when he's coming off of a flop. But Ingram, just for an FYI, he is projected for 5.6 rebounds. And at 5.5 boards, he is a betting favorite across 3 different sites to go over 5.5. So in case you're thinking about some BI, some Brandon Ingram rebounds, now you got a little bit more information to help you out today. Let's go over to the assist prop. While I do that, make sure that you've liked this stream. The streak of 100 or more likes, I don't know if it'll ever be broken. As long as I have your support, it will never be broken. All you do is hit the like button. We keep the momentum going. So take a second. Go ahead and do that now. All right. I'm hydrated and ready to talk some assists. So looking at the assist props, last 10 games, again, Josh Hart, guys, if you're looking at a site like props.cash, you're going to see his name at the top of all of the high hit rates for the last 10 games. Josh Hart's been balling. They're keeping Josh Hart off the board for a reason. They want to put us in tougher decision-making situations, let's just say. So maybe we look at his teammate here, Brandon Ingram at 4.5 assists. Over the last 10 games, Brandon Ingram, 70% hit rate at 4.5 dimes. We look at the last 5 games, 60% hit rate there, 5.2 assists per game on average in the last 5 games. So not terrible hit rates, 70% in the last 10, 60% in the last 5. Decent, right? He had 5 against Phoenix in his last game, 7 against Utah, and that is basically since he's come back. So he was out from December 26th to January 3rd. Since he's come back, it's been less scoring for Brandon Ingram and more assists from the looks of things. So maybe he keeps that trend going tonight, going up against the Golden State Warriors. So let's go take a look at how the Warriors have done in terms of assists allowed to the small forward position, which is where Brandon Ingram plants his flag as a small forward. We go all the way down to the bottom here. Golden State giving up the 3rd fewest assists per game to opposing small forwards. Now maybe you consider Ingram and Herbert Jones interchangeable. Fair. That's fair. They're both like long, lanky guys. They're both forwards. So let's go take a look at the power forward position and see how many assists are given up by the Golden State Warriors to opposing power forwards, just for fun. Not many. 2.4. So they're a very stingy team at both power forward and small forward assists allowed in their last 7 games. Let's pull a projection up here for Brandon Ingram's assists. Despite the difficult matchup, I've got him going for 5.3 assists according to the Action Labs projection tools. I got at least 2 books right now where people are slapping their hard-earned money on the over for Brandon Ingram at 4.5 dimes. So there you go. Brandon Ingram. 4.5 assists. Maybe he's in play for you tonight. Other names to consider. Devontae Graham, he's not up on the board, but showing pretty good form here lately. 60% hit rate in the last 10 games. Not bad. Do we want to look R.J. Barrett's way? We talked about R.J. Barrett's points. His assists also have been pretty good here, especially in his last handful of games. Barely getting it done, but nonetheless getting it done. Dropping 3, 1, 3, 3, and 3, respectively. 2.6 assists per game average. Facing off against Boston tonight. Is he going to be dropping dimes? Is he going to be getting buckets? Maybe he's going to be doing a little bit of both. Let's go see how many assists per game that the Boston Celtics give up to opposing shooting guards. Got to go all the way down to the bottom. They're giving up the first fewest assists in the last 7 games to 2 guards at just 3 assists. So he'd have to get every single one of the assists that they're giving up to shooting guards. Now again, if you call RJ Barrett a small forward, I ain't mad at you. He's, he could be anything from a point guard to a shooting guard to a small forward. He is a positionless player. Boston giving up 3 assists per game to the small forward spot and the point guard spot, which is currently occupied by Alec Burks. Boston giving up 8 assists to opposing point guards. So I don't know who's going to be in charge of handling the ball, if it's going to be RJ Barrett, if it's going to be Alec Burks, who's going to initiate the offense, who's going to set guys up. No telling, but the last 4 games have looked pretty good here for RJ Barrett at 3 or more assists in 80% of those games. Going and pulling up a projection for you, I've got him projected for exactly 3 assists, which puts him over 2.5. But 3 different books, all betting the under, minus 130, minus 135. They expect RJ Barrett to have 2 or less assists tonight against this Boston Celtics team. In the shooting guard and small forward position, matchup looks terrible for the assist props. But again, if RJ Barrett fills in more as a point guard, then maybe he benefits against the Celtics tonight. Yep, Golden State on a back-to-back. We talked about those Steph Curry injury news. We got to stay on top of the Steph Curry injury news, so we'll have to see what's shaking with the Golden State Warriors tonight. Do we trust Reggie Jackson with 3.5 assists? I don't. Probably not looking to go there. Could he hit it? I mean, he's shown 10 assist upside. He had 4 against Toronto. But this is probably a prop for me that I'm looking to stay away from. I think Reggie Jackson is looking to score more than he's looking to drop dimes. But just for fun, since it's a short slate, such a small slate, less names to talk about, going and looking at the Phoenix Suns and how many assists they allow per game to opposing point guards, 6.3, which is the 5th fewest. 5th fewest for Reggie Jackson. So if you're considering Reggie Jackson, I don't know if you should be. I got him projected for 3.8 dimes, and one book I'm seeing some action at minus 135 over 3.5. Don't know if I love that. Oh, now they want to give us Josh Hart. Thank you, Robert, for letting me know. What? Now they want to give us Josh Hart? Oh, is it because I'm on here talking about Josh Hart? Now they want to no, I'm kidding. Maybe they just weren't ready to give us Josh Hart. But you got to look at Josh Hart. I talked about him earlier. High hit rates for Hart. He's up here at 13, though, instead of the 12.5 that you're going to find him. So we're backtracking a little bit, looking at the points props here. But yes, Josh Hart, definitely in play. Definitely in play. Did they give us Josh Hart assists? They have not. They have not. So, yeah, a lot of the assist guys that are up on the board are not going to be high assist rate guys. Guys who have not been hitting a lot. I see some of you guys saying, take Julius Randle's assists instead of his rebounds. It's been ugly. The last 5 games here for Julius Randle, been ugly. 4.5 assists. He's averaging just 3.2. But you guys are liking the assists more than the rebounds for Julius Randle. Despite this matchup against the Celtics looking like a prime position for Randle to rebound the basketball. It's hard to get on board with this Julius Randle assist prop. I see what you're talking about, though, in chat. Let's go to the power forward position, see how many assists per game Boston's giving up in the last 7. Kind of an average, middle-of-the-road team, giving up about 3.7 dimes. He needs 5 or more. He's only done this once. Only done this once in the last 5 games. And at 4.5 assists in the last 10 games, he's only done it 4 times, a 40% hit rate. So 40% in the last 5, 20% in, or 40% in the last 10, 20% in the last 5. I don't know, folks. You guys are talking some wild talk, taking this over the rebounds, huh? I got him projected for 5.5 dimes. I got 3 different books here where we're seeing the betting public just smash the heck out of the over. Minus 145, minus 150. So it sounds like you guys are going to follow the betting public and take the over on Julius Randle at 4.5. You like this more than his rebounds, despite the great rebound matchup. Listen, if you like both, maybe you like both. It doesn't have to be this or that. It could be this and that, right? We could take both of these props. Obviously, we can't take both in the same entry, but you could always make one entry, taking the over on his assists, and another entry where you take the over on his rebounds. Hedge a little bit. You know, I think both of them look decent, promising, I guess you could say, for different reasons. But there you go. Enough about the assists. Let's look at some 3-point shooters. Who's been hitting at a high hit rate from beyond the arc? We got to start things off with Devin Booker, Mr. Wet Like I'm Book. Shout out to Drake. Drake, I know you're out there watching. Big fan of mine. I'm a big fan of yours. Devin Booker, 2.5 3-point makes, 70% hit rate in his last 5 games, guys. 80% hit rate in his, 70% hit rate in the last 10 games, 80% hit rate in the last 5 games. Last 5, averaging 3.2 3-point makes per game. 3, 6, had 1 against Boston. 3 and 3, respectively. So he's been getting it done. Let's go ahead and look at this matchup here. Devin Booker, again, the true shooting guard for the Phoenix Suns. Looking at the 3-point shots made category. We're going to go find the Clippers. Look, they're giving up the fifth most 3-point makes to opposing shooting guards. So this matchup for Devin Booker, not going to get much better than this. Could he go sicko mode tonight from beyond the arc? I think he could. Another Drake reference for all of you keeping score at home. Shout out Drizzy. Let's go look at the 3-point shots made here. We get a projection thanks to Action Labs. Booker is at 2.2 projected 3-point makes, which is more than 2, but not more than 2.5. But nonetheless, minus 140 betting favorite right now to go over 2.5 3-point makes. Dude's been shooting lights out, 70% in the last 10, 80% in the last 5. I like it. Great matchup. Facing the team giving up the 5th most 3-point makes to opposing shooting guards. Looking pretty good here. Willie says it's a book it for Booker threes. You guys are thinking Booker covers this 3-point prop. Easy, huh? Easy? All right. Hey, I'm not mad at it. It's looking good to me too, folks. Looking good to me too. Other guys to maybe consider. Marcus Morris is not up on the board, but over on his 1.5 3-point makes. If you play somewhere else, I ain't mad at you for playing somewhere else. You know, I'm a PrizePicks guy though. Marcus Morris over 1.5 3-point makes. He's not up on the board right now, but 70% hit rate for him in his last 10 games. Devontae Graham also not up on the board for the New Orleans Pelicans, but at 2.5 3-point makes, 70% hit rate for him. So he would be another guy to possibly consider. Chris Paul at just 0.5 3-point makes on some sites, 60% hit rate in the last 10 for him. Joe Val at just 0.5 3-point makes, 50%. So we're kind of getting into like coin flip territory in terms of hit rates, but you get the picture. I don't know how to feel about the rest of these guys here. We got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Let's just look at the matchups here. They're going up against the New York Knicks. We can kind of get an idea of how many 3-point makes that the Knicks are giving up to both of these positions. Jaylen Brown, more of the shooting guard. Jason Tatum, more of the small forward. So taking a look at how many threes are given up here by the New York Knicks to the shooting guard position. They're giving up about 2.5 per game. 2.5 per game. So looks like Jaylen Brown's going to have, you know, something kind of break his way a little bit. Looks like a difficult matchup here on paper. Probably going to be guarded by, I would imagine, RJ Barrett's probably going to be on him. but I could be wrong. Maybe it's Alec Burks. If it's Evan Fournier, I don't trust his defense whatsoever. Then definitely fire up Jaylen Brown. Not sure who he's going to get matched up with, but looking at Jason Tatum at the small forward spot, Knicks giving up a lot more threes to small forwards than they are shooting guards. So giving up about 3.3. That's the seventh most in the last 7 games. So I'll pull projections up for both of these Celtics boys. Got Tatum at 3 3-point makes, and he's a betting favorite at 2.5, minus 125 to go over. So Tatum looking pretty nice so far. And I got Jaylen Brown at 3.4 projected 3-point makes. He is a minus 120 to also cover 2.5 3-point makes. No book may not cover. No book may not cover. Clippers defend the 3. Thank you. Is that like a chant you got going? Okay. I mean, the last 7 games, the Clippers, they're not defending the 3, at least as shooting guards anyway. It's looking good. It's looking good. I see you guys shouting out some picks, shouting out some props, some plays. If you could hold off on those for just a few more minutes, we're going to take a look at some free throw makes real quick. Some quick and dirty free throw make research here. Again, the site that I typically like to use for free throw makes is going to be StatMuse. You can quickly and easily pull up the free throw make logs. I think StatMuse is a good one. NBA.com, you can also get some free throw information from there. But, you know, as we've talked about in the last couple of days with these free throw makes being up on the board, guys that I'm interested in taking free throw makes on are ones that are going to have high usage, guys who are going to have the basketball in their hands. And I'm not talking about the guys that are going to have the basketball in their hands while they're camping the three-point line, because you're not going to get to the free throw line if you're just sitting out there jacking up threes. We need guys who are going to be aggressive, guys that are going to be attacking the hoop. Guys in technical foul situation that will be their team's designated free throw shooter. Guys who are in intentional foul situations at the end of the game who are going to be their team's designated free throw shooter. That's who we want. Not guys that are going to touch the ball, you know, a handful of times every quarter. No, we want high usage guys. I can tell you one guy here that at least at one point was getting to the free throw line a lot. Alec Burks was getting to the free throw line a lot. He's got a knack for just kind of like, I don't know, getting fouled. So, you know, he's right now projected to be the starting point guard for the New York Knicks. So maybe you look his way. RJ Barrett's another guy who likes to find his way to the free throw line. He's at 3.5 3-point makes. 4, 5, 5, and 6. So he's covered this in 4 straight games. So he's another guy who likes to kind of just attack the hoop. That's what we want. Guys who are going to attack the hoop. Ja Morant, it's been kind of hit or miss for him. He would need to get to the line and knock down 6 free throws to cover this prop. That's another thing that maybe you can kind of consider too. Assuming that these guys go 100% from the line. For me, I think I like taking free throw props that are odd more than even. So like RJ Barrett, for instance, say he gets 2 trips to the line to shoot 2 free throws. Say he goes 100%. Well, that would be a good thing because he'd make 4 free throws. But if you got a guy like Jaylen Brown here who's at 4 free throw makes, so now he's got to have a 3rd trip to the line and make at least 5 out of 6 of those 6 free throw attempts. So now you're asking him to find his way to the free throw line one more time. Now, he's done a pretty good job. It's, 60% hit rate of hitting 5 or more. So you could definitely look his way. But yeah, I would say that should be your focus. Focus on guys who are going to have the ball in their hands a lot. Now, one opportunity here is going to be this guy. If Steph Curry's out, usage will travel elsewhere. And Andrew Wiggins, probably one of the guys that's going to be front and center who benefits from Curry being out. So you could look his way for some free throw makes. So we're talking about usage. When a high usage player like Curry's out of the lineup, the usage will be absorbed elsewhere. This guy's shown 13 free throw make upside against the New York Knicks. You take Curry off the court, the usage goes to Poole, the usage goes to Wiggins. So those are opportunities for you to look at. A guy like Booker's going to have the basketball in his hands a lot. He's at 5.5, meaning we got to get him to the free throw line at least 3 times and hope that he goes 100%, 2, 2, and 2, right? He's covered this in 80% of his games. Booker's going to have the basketball in his hands. So those are just some ideas, some ways to think about free throw makes. Who's going to be the technical foul shooter? Who's going to be the late game crunch time foul shooter if a team gets intentionally fouled? Who's going to be aggressive in attacking the hoop? Who gets to the free throw line at a high clip? Which teams are they facing off that foul at a high rate? Those are all things to consider. So there you go. What are you guys talking about here? You're talking about some Jaylen Brown. Yes, Sadiq Bey owes us for sure. For sure. All right. Well, we've got time for some questions here with just 4 games. So if you have questions, go ahead and leave them now. I think we've talked enough about the points, the rebounds, the assists, the 3-point makes, the free throws made. So if you have your questions lined up, I'm going to start looking at them right now. Yes, Willie Wiggins, if Curry is out, then I would like his free throw props for sure. Robert says, I feel like I'm the Josh Hart update man now, but his rebounds and assists are finally up as well. Okay, we could definitely look at those if you guys want. Brennan says, am I crazy to like Wiggins points with Curry out? Not crazy at all. Not crazy at all. I think it makes a lot of sense, actually, my friend. Julius Randle's free throws seem pretty green. Yeah, my thing with Randle is sometimes he kind of falls into a lull where he likes to sit out on the perimeter and not live in the paint. When Randle's in the paint, dude is a bulldozer. Dude is in there like causing havoc, and he's bound to get fouled. But if he's out there wanting to just play the stretch 4 position where he's out there trying to be a 3-point sniper, I hate that when Julius Randle does that. So hopefully he's more aggressive and he plays down inside a bit more against the Boston Celtics. Yeah, Zach, you're asking about Gary Payton over 12.5 points with Steph most likely out. We could take a look at it. Let's see if he's up on the board yet. Not seeing any GP the second. I got Wiggins, Green, Looney. Maybe, oh, there he is. Oop, almost missed him. 12.5 points for this guy. You think he steps up without Steph Curry in the lineup? Listen, this is a perfect scenario, perfect situation for you to go check out Court IQ by Roto Grinders. Totally free tool. Just go to Google, type in Court IQ, Roto Grinders, and you will get access to that. It's, like I said, doesn't require you to sign up for anything. It's totally free, open access for you to use. But what you would do in this situation, you take Steph Curry out, and then you'd see how the other players on the team benefit without Curry out on the court. So you're asking about Gary Payton. Let's go look at his points prop as of right now. I don't have a points prop for him. Let's refresh. Maybe the Action Labs tools have some more projections in them now. Yep, there we go. Got him projected for 14.5 points. That's 2 points higher than where he's at right now on PrizePicks at 12.5. Minus 125 betting favorite on a couple of different sites. So yes, I mean, this goes back to what we were saying. With Curry out, that usage goes somewhere else, right? It goes to Gary Payton, maybe. It goes to Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins would be the leading man for me as far as who benefits with Curry out. That's just going off the top of my head. That's not with me using Court IQ or anything. Andrew Wiggins has been playing great this season, and I think he's coming off of a somewhat bad game, 17 against Dallas. I'd say that's a bad game when you look at the previous 4 games and he's dropped 20 or more points. I still think there's some value. Even at 20.5 points, I still think there's a little value on taking the over on Andrew Wiggins. Denzel, you're talking about some pool points. Well, kind of goes hand in hand with what we talked about on Gary Payton. Jordan Poole set to also benefit without Steph Curry in the lineup. I don't see him up on the board, though, unless I'm missing something. I don't even have a projection for Jordan Poole. So we'll have to wait and see. Maybe they're holding off on releasing any lines for Jordan Poole just yet. Eric Bledsoe's fantasy score, Mike 4KT, or forked, if you put it all together and you say it like a word. 4KT is forked. I'm smart. Eric Bledsoe's fantasy points. Let's go find him. He's at 25. I don't know. What do we think here, folks? 3 out of the last 5 games he's hit. 60% hit rate. Not terrible. He's facing Phoenix tonight. Was Eric Bledsoe a member of the Suns at one point? I kind of want to say he was. Was he? I don't know. Now I want to know. He was. Look at you. Oh, man. Guy was definitely a member of the Suns. I don't know why I think that's interesting. Is there a revenge narrative? Probably not. He probably doesn't even remember when he was a member of the Suns. Heck, most of you probably don't remember when he was a member of the Suns, right? Anyway, you're asking about Eric Bledsoe and his fantasy points. For that, we go over to the Fantasy Labs projection models and type in Eric Bledsoe. He's at 24.9 projected fantasy points, which puts him pretty darn close to 25. Not seeing much upside, not seeing much of an edge here. But looking at this matchup, you go to the point guard position, which is where Bledsoe's been playing. Go to the FanDuel points or fantasy points allowed per game, and you go find the Phoenix Suns. They're giving up 50.9 fantasy points per game to opposing point guards. So despite the Fantasy Labs fantasy models not being in love with Eric Bledsoe at 25 fantasy points, they're not loving the over on him. I would say that the matchup anyway at least presents a little bit of upside, or a lot of upside. I mean, they're giving up almost 51 fantasy points per game. We just need Bledsoe to get 25.1 of that number. ZXR Skills is asking about some Reggie Jackson. Under on points. Oh, we got a super chat. I will get to that super chat in just one moment. Thank you so much for that. Let's look at Reggie Jackson's points real quick. We talked about his assists. Not really trusting him in the assist department, personally. 17.5 points. You're wanting to go under. And for good reason, because he has only covered this prop once. That's a 20% hit rate. Had 19 points, barely went over 17.5 against Brooklyn back on January 1st, New Year's Day. So I can kind of get down with what you're saying here about going under on Reggie Jackson. Let's just go here and find the Phoenix Suns. Uh-oh. Hold your horses. Hold the phone, folks. Phoenix Suns are giving up 30.8 points per game to opposing point guards in the last 7 games. Chris Paul, where you at, man? Where's the defense at? There's no clamps to be found in Phoenix. They're easily the team giving up the most points to opposing point guards in the last 7 games. In fact, they're the only team giving up 30 or more points to the point guard position in that span. So before we go getting all crazy and fall in love with taking the under on Reggie Jackson, we must consider this matchup. Phoenix is just not doing a good job here defending against point guards. And you know Reggie Jackson, after coming off of a 5-point game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, he ain't coming out scoring 5 for the second game in a row, folks. No. Reggie's going to look to get right. And this matchup is the best matchup he could ask for to get right as a point guard in the points category. Let's pull a projection up for Reggie Jackson here, folks. See what's really what here. I got Reggie at 16.5 points. At 17.5 points, we got 4 different sites, 4 different books. All the money coming in on the under for Mr. Reggie Jackson here. I don't know. I think it's going to be pretty close. I'm not saying he's going to hit 17.5, but you look at the matchup, they're giving up over 30 points Over 30 points. Now, maybe you consider Reggie Jackson to be the shooting guard. I guess maybe you can make a case for that. Maybe it's Eric Bledsoe who benefits at the point guard position from this matchup. He had 1 point in his last game. So between him and Reggie Jackson, man, both of these guys need to get back on track. Both had very bad games against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So just for fun, we'll pull up Bledsoe's point prop. He's projected for 11.5, so he's under by 3 points versus the 14.5. And then same situation as Reggie Jackson. People are slapping the under. The betting public taking the under on both Eric Bledsoe and Reggie Jackson. But this spot, this position, this matchup looks too good. One of these guys is probably going to eat whoever you think the point guard is. All right, to the super chat we go. Delvin Shin, leaving that juicy super prop. Appreciate that, my friend. He's wanting to ask about Cameron Johnson of the Phoenix Suns' first half points. His first half points. Well, we look at his full game points. He's at 15.5. So let's start things off by just comparing sort of his projection on his full game points. And then we'll get into the first half points. Johnson projected for 14.9. I think it's fair for us to call it 15. 15 projected points according to the Action Lab projection tool. Now, seeing a lot of different things going on here. On DK, betting favorite slightly to go over 15.5 at minus 115 odds. But then on FD, minus 120 under 15.5. And on PointsBet, minus 130 under 15.5. Not seeing any action on MGM. So, kind of all over the place. Mixed signals. Now, Cam Johnson, just looking at his game logs, has shown 18, 20, 19 point upside. So 15.5, definitely achievable. Definitely could be a thing. Now, what do we consider Cam Johnson right now in his current role with the Phoenix Suns? Is he serving as like small forward? Maybe Bridges is the power forward. Maybe these guys are just forwards and we can't really put them into a box like that. I don't know. Let's go look at the matchup real quick. We'll look at both small forward and power forward positions against the Clippers. Clippers giving up 24.2 points per game, which is the fifth most to opposing small forwards in the last 7 games. So they're bleeding points away to the small forward position. So I would say that should benefit Cam Johnson and probably benefit Bridges as well. Looking at the power forward position, we go find the Clippers there. A little tougher. 17.1 points per game in the last 7 games to the power forward position. So a lot easier time for whoever you feel is the true small forward against this Los Angeles Clippers team. Okay, now that's kind of all full game stuff. You're asking about Cam Johnson versus the Clippers in a first half only format. So let's go find him. He's at 7.5 points. 7.5 points. So he needs 8 points, which seems doable. Seems doable for Cam Johnson. Now, to get a better idea of just how good Cameron Johnson's been in first half scenarios, we're going to use StatMuse. We go Cameron Johnson, first half points, game logs. That's just an idea of how you can use StatMuse to help you with your research. So we said he needs 8 points. Let's look at the last handful of games here. 11, that's an over. 8, that's an over. 10, that's an over. So in 3 straight games, he has gone over 7.5 first half points. Falls short here with just 2 points. That was against OKC. Should have been an easy matchup, right? 7 against Memphis. So if we look at his last 5, he has gone 3 out of 5. So 60% hit rate. He had 0 against Golden State, despite playing 11 minutes. But you kind of see here, just looking at his game logs, the last 3 games, his minutes are up 17, 17, and 19. So if he's going to get that type of run, even 18 minutes. I know he fell short against Memphis, had 7 points against the Grizzlies back on 12/27. But if he's going to get 17, 18, 19 minutes of first half run, then I think his first half points should be in play. So, yeah, I think that's a worthwhile look, Delvin. I think it is a worthwhile look, considering the matchups, kind of considering his recent performances here in the first half. We just got to hope he gets enough court time. Appreciate the super chat once again, man. It means a lot. I never get on here expecting anything like that from anybody, but when you do it, listen. It helps. Every little bit helps. The likes, the super chats, you joining us in the community over on Patreon, all that stuff helps, man. Helps keep me going, keep me on here doing this for you folks, and hopefully putting some extra money in your pockets. So appreciate you all rocking with me. Thanks to everybody who has subscribed, who has liked today's show. Love all that. Thank you for the support. Cam, you're asking about Marcus Smart's assists. Now, I saw him up here. At a juicy little 4.5 assists versus the New York Knicks. And I think I'm kind of with you here. Marcus Smart at 4.5 dimes, covered this in 3 of his last 5 appearances. And he's averaging 5.4 dimes in that 5-game span, which is plenty of assists. Let's just look at the matchup real quick. He is the point guard for Boston. So we'll go to the assist category. They're facing the Knicks. Knicks kind of stingy here, giving up just 5.7 dimes. 5.7 dimes. So let's just quickly pull up a projection for Smart. Again, this shouldn't be the end of your research. Just because, I pull a few things up here, that doesn't mean you've done your homework for the day. You probably want to dig a little deeper. Let this be the beginning of where your research starts. But at 4.5 assists, I'm seeing him on a number of different books. He's a betting favorite to go over on all 3 of them. And the action projection tools got him at 5.7. That's 1.2 assists higher than the 4.5 that he's at on PrizePicks. So I could definitely get on board with that. Now, here's another way that you can use StatMuse just for your point of reference here. You could go Marcus Smart assists versus Knicks game logs. And then you can kind of pull it up and see how he's done here in some of the recent games. He's had 5 back on 12-18, 6 back on 10-20, 9 back on April 7th of 2021. That was last season. Then he had 2 and 0. But his minutes are a lot higher here than some of these other games. So you got to pay attention to that too. 36, 46, and 34 minutes in the last 3 matchups. Covered all 3 times. So yeah, despite the difficult matchup, I think Marcus Smart's assists are in play. I think they're in play. Terrence Mann. He said Terrence Mann also. I don't like Terrence Mann. Terrence Mann cost me a 10x the other night. Every time I played Terrence Mann, I'm like, this is the spot for Terrence Mann to get buckets. He doesn't get buckets. So I don't know what to do with Terrence Mann. I'd like to believe that he's a good quality player, but he always starts out hot, and then, I don't know, the game goes on, and then the OGs on the team, the Reggie Jacksons, the Marcus Morrises, it's like he doesn't get the ball as much for some reason. Todd, you're liking some Bridges 3 points. Well, he's doing a good job in the last 3 games. 2, 3, and 5 3-point makes, respectively. Can't be mad at you for liking some Bridges over 1.5 3-point makes. He's the type of guy, though, he's going to have to be super efficient, meaning he's not a volume 3-point shooter like Devin Booker. He's going to get way less shots than Devin Booker from beyond the arc. He's going to have to make sure he knocks them down. He's got to hit those threes that he takes. I will quickly pull up a projection. We're reaching the 90-minute mark here. We are at the 90-minute mark, in fact. But I got him projected at 1.8 3-point makes. Couple of sites, though. Slight betting favorite to go under, to not cover this prop. Kyle saying, Time Lord, Tatum, Brown, and Horford have all went 5 for 5 on rebound props in the last 5 games. Yeah, but be careful falling in love with those game logs, because the Celtics have had kind of a revolving door in their starting lineup over that 5-game span. Those 5 guys have not all played together in all 5 of those games. I think we had Tatum out for a little bit, right? I think we had Brown possibly out for maybe a couple of those games. So just dig into it a little bit deeper. That's kind of my motto for most things in life. Don't judge a book by its cover, right? Read in between the lines, whatever an analogy or whatever you want to use. Just got to dig a little bit deeper. Don't just settle for, oh, well, the hit rates look great here, 5 out of 5 or whatever. Consider the scenarios, who was in, who was out for the teams, because there's been a lot of movement, right, on these rosters. There's been a lot of guys who have been out, a lot of like no-name guys who have found themselves in the starting lineup. So you're going to have to dig a little bit deeper than probably you normally would. Now, once things level out and we know that, hey, Tatum, Brown, Horford, Williams, and Smart, they've been playing together now for the last 5 games, then we can kind of start trusting these game logs, these hit rates of 5 and 10 games a little bit more. But right now, you got to go beyond the game logs and kind of consider who was in, who was out for this team, respectively. Just glancing over a few of these, you guys are mentioning some very interesting plays here. We didn't talk a whole lot about fantasy points, so you're saying somebody's mentioning Steven Adams. Well, that's not Steven Adams. That's Jonas Valanciunas, the guy that Steven Adams was traded for. You're mentioning Steven Adams, RB Pal's liking Steven Adams and Diallo under on the fantasy points. Well, let's just pull up a projection for you on Adams. I got him at 26.4. So far that's looking like an option, a potential play. And then you're also asking about Diallo. Diallo's at 31.5. I got him going actually over right now at 33.1. These are just projections. This isn't a lead pipe lock that he's for sure going to go over and Adams is for sure going to go under, right? These are just projections, but pretty sharp projections most of the time on Fantasy Labs. Burks over 2.5 assists if he's starting at point guard. Like, yeah, I could get down with that. I could get down with Burks. We talked about his teammate RJ Barrett, who's also at 2.5. These guys could cover. They should be the two guys who are the setup guys, the playmakers, the ones that are going to initiate the offense. They should both have the basketball in their hands quite a bit as well. Seeing a couple people mention some Jonas Valanciunas rebounds. Jonas Valanciunas rebounds at 11.5 versus Golden State. He's covered this in just 2 of his last 5 games. But I like Joe Val most nights. Solid player. Let's go ahead and pull him up here. Wow. Got him projected for nearly 13 boards against Golden State. But seeing some conflicting info, minus 130 to go over on one site, minus 115 to go under on another. So, yeah, you're going to have to dig a little deeper. Dig a little deeper. Barrett Fantasy first half. These are a little harder, I guess you could say, to kind of figure out, but Barrett's at 15.5. 15.5 fantasy points. What you can do is utilize StatMuse here once again. You can go RJ Barrett, FanDuel points, first half game logs. I think that'll work for us. Yes. And because FanDuel and PrizePicks fantasy scoring are one in the same, it'll give you an idea how many times RJ Barrett has covered 15.5 fantasy points in the last however many games you want. So he got a hit here, went under here, hit, under, hit. So in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games, he's covered in 4 out of 6. If you want to expand this out, the hit rates drop a little bit. He's got a couple of games where he's went under. So that's what I'm saying. This guy is very difficult to figure out. All the Knicks are. I just never know what to think of RJ Barrett on a game-to-game, night-to-night situation. Same thing with Randall. Same thing with Burks. Same thing with all these dudes. All the Knicks. They're one of the most frustrating teams for me, personally. Just kind of scrolling through here, seeing what you guys are talking about. Why would you play Sadiq last night? I almost shorted him. He had a fluky game. The first one with Cunningham coming back. Sadiq was pretty hot, though. Even the previous games without Cade, he got it done in the first game back with Cade. But yeah, he flopped last night. The whole team flopped last night, though. The Detroit Pistons. Jaylen Brown first half points, maybe. Again, I could kind of show you how to do that. It's the same situation here. So instead of asking about FanDuel points, you would just ask about Jaylen Brown points first half game logs. And you can see at 11.5 points in the first half, Jaylen Brown, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 straight games he has covered 11.5 points in the first half. Fell just short here with 10. So 7 of 8, 8 of 9, 8 of 10. 80% hit rate in the last 10 games of covering 11.5 points. He's going up against the Knicks. We've got a game log here where he played 16 first half minutes against the Knicks back on December 18th. Ended up with 16 first half points versus the Knicks. We go down a little bit further. 10, 20, 21. He played 16 first half minutes versus the Knicks. He put in 25 first half points versus the Knicks. So he's covered this first half point prop twice versus the Knicks this season. And he's covered this prop in 8 out of 10 games, did we say? In his last 10 games, he's an 80% hit rate. I think you got yourself a very, very solid pick, Mr. Pavel. Good call out. But that's how you would research, by the way. First half points, first half fantasy points. You can use StatMuse for that. Very solid way to do that. Denzel said, I got to share Jaylen Brown first half, 11.5 first half points. We just talked about it. It's looking good. Looking very good. All right. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. 4 games. We're not going to spend 2 hours talking about four NBA games. You know what I'm saying? I think we've done some pretty good research here. If you just got in here late, make sure you catch the replay. Sorry I couldn't get to everybody's picks and everybody's props and everybody's questions. There's a lot of you in here. There's a whole bunch of you up in here. I tried to do my best to get to as many as possible without making this thing run for 2, 3, 4 hours. So go ahead and smash the like button on your way out. And we'll catch you tomorrow, 11 a.m. for a Friday edition of this very show. And I'm thinking about getting on here and doing an NFL show, but shh, we'll keep that between us. Catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.